So this episode, I didn't told y'all before, they just getting buck wild, more and more buck wild as the series progresses. But anyways, that's what they're supposed to do, I guess. Anyways, this series just so the last episode, I was sad because of the deaths. Then this episode, I feel like I was going through like I don't want to say like the 7 stages, or is it 5 stages of grief? I didn't know what to say about the stuff that they did. But anyways, I guess I'm just too normal for this series. I don't know. Anyways, so the series starts off with them having the funeral, basically. Them putting Lena's body in like a kind of like a sarcophagus kind of thing and putting it into the ocean, good old Valerian way, right? A going away by the sea, if you will. Now, it was all fine. Everything was fine. Everything was normal until, first of all, why was Otto Hightower even there? I wouldn't even let him show up if I was Damon. Because remember, it was his fault that he got kicked out of the Night Watch, if we remember correctly. Or I could be mistaken. But anyways, I don't even know why he was there. I guess because he's the new hand. He's father of the queen, so he kind of had to be there. But still, I would have told him to go wait somewhere in the house, that he wasn't welcome to the actual ceremony, the actual service. Everything was going fine. And then poor Jace was like, I don't understand why we here. Like, we didn't really know Aunt Lena like that. We need to be with the Strongs. Like, we ain't crazy. That's our kinfolk. And she was like, listen, you need to be right here. Like, don't be, don't lack compassion now. Like, go comfort your cousins, okay? They need somebody. They just lost their mama. And the poor little girls, they were just sitting there like crying. And Jace had went up to them, and I think it was Bela that like grabbed his hand, and I was like, I just hope this is not going in the direction that I think it is, because I'm a little tired. I'm a lot tired actually of the incest. I'm just tired of it. Okay. But anyways, then it was like Aegon, Aemon, and they were like talking or whatever about their sister. I'm just like, really? She's your sister, And doggone it, Aemon really said basically, oh yeah, he would marry his sister and do his duty fulfill his duty to the realm, if you will, by creating pure Targaryen babies with her, if their mother allowed it. And I was like, give me a waste bucket, please, so that I could gag and vomit. And it's crazy that he even said that, because his own mother was the one who blatantly told Rhaenyra to her face. Remember those 10 years ago? Ugh, I can't stand these family traditions that you have. It's disgusting. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy that her son is like thinking this way now after all of that. Really? But anyways, I was disgusted, needless to say. But anyways, and then doggone it, Damon, I don't even know how to begin to explain how he was handling the grief, I guess, the regret. And maybe he was feeling like some regret for real, because maybe he felt like, because what he did to Lady Rhea was coming back to bite him in the butt. Your actions have consequences. Might not catch him tomorrow or 5 years from now, but at some point in time, them consequences coming back. And maybe he did feel, twinge, a tingle of guilt for what he did. He had like some happiness, even if it was just a short period of time. He had it, but it, hey, fortunately it slipped away from him, and he was just standing there like just being weird. But like I said, I guess that he was mourning in his own way. And Viserys did try to level with him and be like, listen, let the past be in the past. Let's just bury the hatchet. This phrase that I like to use so much with this series. Let's just bury the hatchet and come back to Dragonstone. He was like, I ain't doing that. He was basically like, I ain't doing that. This is my Dragonstone. This is my home now. He was like, come on, like, Dragonstone, like, is where you should be. You're a prince of the realm. Like, you deserve more than this. And he was like, you get out of my face. And he just walked off. And I was like, well, at least he tried, right? I wanted to see them back in good graces with each other, because they're brothers, like, Then, doggone it, you see Laner. I guess he's mourning in his own way. He's doggone it wading in the water, drunk, about to drown himself. And, the doggone, his father was like, you need to go down there and get my son. Like, I'm like, well, he knows, obviously, the relationship that they have between each other and, well, betwixt each other, if you will. And so he was like, fine. And he goes get him down. And I'm like, well, man, the guy did just lose his sister. He didn't see her for a while before. And apparently they all knew, like, what the mom said. She was like, she wanted to come back home. She wanted to see us. She wanted to see her brother. But Damon stopped it from happening. Like, she didn't deserve this. She was mad at Corliss because, remember back in the time, she had told him, look, I don't care about not being the queen. Yes, it could have happened. It didn't. I'm over it. I don't want it no more because it's going to cause too many problems to try to fight with people over it. She didn't want to be involved in it. I don't blame her. But he was just so bent on, when they had the scenes, he was like, look, listen, you need to disinherit our son, and then you need to go ahead and name, our granddaughters, our oldest granddaughter, the next heir, to the Valerians or whatever, because that's the only way that this is gonna go. Because we can keep acting like them kids is Rhaenyra's and Laena's, but we all know that's not Laena's sons. We all know that. We can't just keep, acting, oblivious. Them ain't no Valerians. Okay, them some Targaryens plus Strongs. That's what them are. And he was like, no, like, that's going to take everything from him. Like, he's going to be, like, the, king consort. Like, he'll be fine. She was like, no. Like, I don't want our family involved in this. He was just so stuck on having their names in the history books. But she was trying to say, like, we need to pull them back because this is dangerous. And rightfully so. Like, I don't want to say that Laena directly being involved with Daemon is what caused her death, although they were making some dangerous moves by putting them, trying to like push them to be with people just for a status, which is what he was doing from day one. And I know she didn't want that. She was saying like that at that episode when Viserys came and proposed the marriage, she was like, you're putting our son's life in danger and our potential grandchildren by doing this. You know that, right? He was just, like, oh, it'll be fine. I told y'all, mothers be knowing. Anyways. So then, they decide, they go, we're going to go to bed tonight. So everybody, needs to go to bed. I feel like Viserys was kind of starting to sort of like put his foot down with Alicent. I guess he just finally got tired of getting walked all over by the person who's, first of all, what charge does he even have? I only asked the queen. Yes, she's got some pull, but come on now. Anyways. He was like, I'm going to bed. And that other one can tend to her. But we going to bed. And they all supposed to be in the bed. Aegon is drinking himself into a stupor. And I'm like, see, that's just stupid and irresponsible. Like, there have been people who literally have, like, almost choked on their own vomit because they drank so much. And they were laying down and they couldn't roll over to be able to throw up. I'm just like, this boy. And then, of course, grandfather dearest Otto Hightower comes, he just looks at him like, again, like Alicent, like the disgust of the family, the stain on the family. He walks down there, like, grabs him, and he was like, get in the house, get in the bed. And I'm just like, well, sometimes they need to be jacked around a little bit, I guess. If that's what's gonna help, maybe. He was like, that father that came and snatched you up when you were not doing right and was just like, I'm out here doing all this and you out here acting a plumb fool, But anyways. So then Aemon gets the bright idea to go wandering around the place. And that was especially dangerous because he was wandering around in the dark, one. And two, he was wandering around when basically, Rhaenyra was talking to Daemon on the beach. And it was basically that scene, that exchange made me want to slap both of them, the fire out of both of them, pun very much intended. And the reason why is because, so first of all, she asked him, did you love her? Like, did you love Laena? And he gonna say, and I quote, I can't even remember what he said, like, verbatim, but it was basically something like, oh, we had our happiness. Like, I was as happy as I could be. I was happy enough. We were happy enough. That's what he said. And when he said that, I wanted to punch him in the face because why would you say that about your deceased wife? You just came from the funeral to your previous lover or your wannabe lover, who's also your niece. Like, this is so messed up. And then too, like I said, how could you say that about your wife? Like, and see, That's why I said in my previous video about this, I don't blame her for saying what she said. When she confronted him, she was like, listen, I know I wasn't your first choice, but I did everything I could to please you, basically, or to be whatever you wanted me to be. And I just, like, it just made me mad because I'm like, so you basically kind of just proved her right, you know. He gonna stand and be like, oh, Lena, like, oh, she was like saying ridiculous stuff. But it wasn't, was it? Like, I just feel like he settled for her, and that makes me angry. Like, no person, whether man or woman, deserves to be settled for. That triggered me. It really did. And then she gonna just, why she laid all of her, she had no reservations, but what little she did, she laid them by the side of the shore. She was basically like, you know, I needed you, right? Like, I needed somebody, like, to be there for me, like, to have my back, you know, basically, like, almost as if, like, people hadn't been helping her. Like, she did have Lena to some extent, and she had her father who was constantly looking over her misdeeds. She was like, I want you. I want you. I don't care about anything. And I'm like, so you forgive him now? You forgive him for leaving you, as I said. And I'm going to say again, hot and ready, high and dry in the brothel and not being able to marry him all the time. Like, I just feel like she had been through a lot. I'll give her that. She'd been through a lot. Married her cousin, who she didn't want to marry. He wasn't even attracted to women. They tried to have a baby. According to her, upon multiple occasions, it was misery. But that does not mean that you could just do whatever you want to do. Like, I don't get this justification of doing things that are bad and horrible, like sleeping with your uncle just because you had a hard life. And I mean that for real. She really did lay her whole what little reservations down by the short side and was just like, I need you. Like, she might as well have just threw herself into his arms. Like, she basically did. And he was basically like, I feel like in his mind he was like, I do miss her, and Lena's not here no more. So basically, who am I gonna be with? Like, you know, like, I can't say exactly what he was thinking, but to me, that's what it felt like. Like, he was still upset. He was still trying to grieve. At the same time, he had no self-control. So if she threw herself at him, he wasn't gonna say no, you know. And she was like, I done been through it and back, and you weren't there for me to screw and feel better about, basically. So what we about to do now? Like, you know. And they just went ahead and did it. And I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. Of course, it was a big old skip for me because I'm not about to watch her commit adultery again and just be up fornicating in the sand. That's what we not gonna do, okay? That's what we not finna do. I was very disappointed. Of course, what did I expect? Like, I knew the moment she saw him again, I was like, she's gonna run right into his arms. She's gonna run right into his arms. And I'm gonna be pissed because your cousin just died. Like, it's like they don't even care that this woman is dead. Like, it's like there's a respect you have for a man who just, you know, who's a widow. You don't just jump into his arms right after his wife is dead, especially if you're his previous lover and you're his niece. Like, that's just a big no-no. And I feel like all of the rules for that were thrown out the window. Anyways, so they up here banging each other in the sand while Aemond is trying to, like, claim Rhaegar, basically. Rhaegar, was it Vagar? I can't remember. Lena's dragon, which I felt was, like, so dishonorable of him. Like, I get it. Like, they could claim whatever dragon they want, but his rider just died. Her rider just died. So you really gonna do that after her rider just died? Like, that's just unacceptable to me. Like, maybe that's, like, of course, in line with, like, the whole claiming of a dragon rules. Like, I don't know the rules. I don't know the rule book. But to me, that was just completely dishonorable, if you ask me. But I could be wrong. Like I said, I could be completely wrong. But anyways, he gonna go up there and I'm like, see, this is how you get roasted, like that goat in the what do you call it? The nest or whatever it was. The coop, whatever the dragon, where the dragons be. Anyways, so he gonna go up there and he was like walking, trying to, like, get on the dragon. And then the dragon woke up and was looking at him like, I don't feel like dealing with this thing. He's gonna go back to sleep and he gonna get back on the dragon. And then the dragon gonna wake up again and literally, like, open his mouth to get ready to Dracarys him without even a command. And I'm like, see, now you about to be roasted like that. Was I about to say a duck? Now you about to be roasted like that goat. But of course he knows High Valerian. And I don't know what the words meant, but I guess it was basically like, you know, stop, obey me, basically. And, you know, the dragon looked at him and was like, and then he gets on and then they go for a ride or whatever. I kept telling myself, he could, like, you know, that show, I didn't really watch it. I just heard about it because I just didn't want to watch people going through that. But 1,000 ways to die, there were about 500 ways that he could have died. Like, he could have, like, what would have happened if the dragon hit a sharp left turn and he wasn't like holding on, to the thing, to the saddle or whatever? He could have got thrown off and fell into the water. And at that height, he could have died once he hit the water. Because when you fall from a long distance and you hit water, I heard it's like hitting concrete. Could have made a sharp left turn and he wasn't paying attention. He could have flew one way into the wing and splat right into the wing, for all we know. Or fell back and then, he could have just fell off or tumbled on down. Like, because I'm goofy like that. But my mind was imagining all these ways he could have died alone just by riding the dragon. So then he lands the dragon. And of course, Lena's daughters are like, somebody then took the dragon. And then they go, who do they go to? Their cousin, their big cousin. They're like, listen, somebody just stole the dragon. Like, somebody stole the dragon, our mother's dragon. So then they go down to meet him. And he's just like so arrogant and pompous and disrespectful. And of course he got it from his mom. But he was just I just didn't like the attitude that he had. And they were like, that was our mother's dragon. She literally just died. Like, how could you do that? And he was like, why didn't you claim her? Of course the oldest was like, that was my birthright to claim. And he was like, well, why hadn't you claimed her already? And I'm like, I mean, their mother did just die. There's more important things than claiming a dragon, like mourning their mother, their only mother. Like, how would you like that if that happened? Like, you know what I'm saying? I was just like, wow, the lack of compassion, bro. Like, come on. And they were like, you were wrong for that. Like, you shouldn't have done that. And he basically said, F y'all. That's basically what he said. Like, he might as well have. And then, Jace and Luke were there. And they were like, you ain't right for that. And then they get into a fight. And this boy calls them bastards. I was like, see, you just broke cardinal rule number 1. Just because you're a prince, you're not exempt from punishment. You might not get your tongue cut off or your head separated from your shoulders. But you're going to get something. I was like, really? Like, and sometimes, like, I get it. People will say, well, children will be children. And sometimes they don't understand, like, how damaging their words could be. But children, they not crazy. Okay, they know right from wrong for the most part. Like, and then too, again, his mother, like, I blame her for a lot of that. But at the same time, like, you would think somebody would think, even as a child, okay, well, I wouldn't want somebody to call me that, even if it kind of was true, like, And of course, that was fighting words. And Jace was like, oh, you got to fight me now. Like, we got to fight. And they were all mad at him because, like I said, he didn't claim this dragon after Lena wasn't even dead for how long. Like, that was just, like I said, it was just dishonorable, man, in the highest form. And then, doggone it, her daughter started, like, trying to beat him up. And he punched, well, the first daughter went at him, and he, like, pushed her out of the way. And then the second one punched him, and I was like, yeah, that's what you get. And then he punched her back, and I was like, oh, he ain't right for that. And then, of course, Jace tried to step in, and then he got beat up. And then poor little Luke, he was the smallest one of the bunch, always. He gonna hit him over the face, and I'm just like, oh, my God. He's beating them up. And then they all got up and they were like, wait a minute. And then finally I was like, I was waiting for y'all to do this. They jumped him. I was like, yeah, that's right. Jump him. He wants to be a bully. He wants to be mean. He wants to say mean things, do mean things. Jump him. And they were doing great. And then he just somehow got the upper hand on them. And he started pushing them and kicking them. And then he took a rock. And I was like, okay, we getting in trouble here. Because, he could crack somebody's skull. Like, that's not safe at all. And then he hits Jace. And then he hit the youngest boy. And I was like, Rhaenyra's going to be pissed. And then, like, the, poor, Lena's children, they were, like, standing off. And he had picked up the rock. And he was just like verbally destroying them. Like, when I heard him say all the things that he said, I was like, I felt so horrible for the kids. 'Cause I'm like, bro, you're a bully. Like, you're an awful monster of a bully, like your mother. And then, like I said, after he said what he said, when he brought Sir Harwin into it, I was like, those are fighting words. Like, he might have to die now. I'm sorry. And then Jace pulled out that sword, or that knife rather, and he started fighting. But then he got beat up again, and he picked up that sword, that knife, and he was like, I got something for you. And then he slashed him, and I was like, that's pretty gory, man. That's pretty hardcore. Like, And I felt bad because at first I was like, oh man, that's messed up. Like, I mean, we all knew he was gonna lose an eye, but at the same time, I was like, oh my god, that's horrible. But at the same time, I was like, but I don't really feel bad for him because he was horrible. And then I felt bad for feeling that way. So it was an emotional time for me. I didn't know how to feel, and I felt bad about all of it. But anyways, then finally, that's when all the knights wanted to show up after he didn't stab somebody. Not while he was beating all of them up. And then, of course, Carlos came in and was like, who dares to put hands on my grandkids? And then, of course, Rhaenyra was like, what happened to you boys? And they were like, he called us bastards. And she was like, don't worry, mama, handle this. And doggone it, Alicent was talking about this isn't right. Like, my boy, he's permanently maimed. Like, you should do something, Viserys. And Viserys was like, hold on, we can get down to the bottom of this. And I was like, okay, see, Viserys, you're moving in wisdom now. I applaud you. And so he was like, Aemon, who told you that they were bastards? And I was like, you better throw Mama Dearest under the bus. But I knew he wasn't going to do it. Like, he kind of looked at her like, ugh. I was going to make a joke. I am going to make a joke. He looked at her, but it was more like, I'm sorry. I'm horrible for that. Forgive me. Anyways, he looked at her and she was like, and I was like, he's not going to do it. He's not going to throw her under the bus. He looks at her and I forgot what he said, but basically he didn't throw her under the bus. That's how mad I was about it. I don't even remember what he said, because I would have remembered if he would have threw her under the bus, but he didn't, and I was pissed. But you can't blame him because that's his mama. And then he was like, all right, I got something for you. Oh no, that's right, I do remember what he said. He said Aegon. It was Aegon. I was like, so cool. You gonna throw your older brother under the bus? But I mean, I guess that was payback for the whole pig situation. Which, hey, call it even. Let's just call it even now. Or I guess they won't. It's just gonna be another Alicent or Rhaenyra. But anyways, then he goes, okay, Aegon, who told you that they were bastards? Who used that language, that terminology, that hate speech, so to speak? Who did it? He was like, everybody knows grandfather. Like, at first I thought he was gonna throw Alicent. Now I really thought that he was gonna throw Alicent under the bus, because she, like I said, every time she looked at him, she just looked at him like the disappointment of the family. Like when you have a big family, you got a bunch of siblings, and there's that one sibling that just be catching it from both parents. Sometimes it don't even really be their fault. The parents just like, ugh, like, why do we have to have you? Like, she couldn't stand his guts, like I said before. And I feel like he considered throwing her under the bus, but then he was like, nah, I can't do my mama like that. And he was like, everybody knows, like, obviously, Dad, like, everybody knows. And he was like, okay. Like, he wasn't stupid, though. I'm pretty sure he knew it was all Alicent. He was like, from now on, I said what I said. If y'all keep questioning, the paternity of them kids, you're going to lose your tongue. And I'm like, come on, you got to put your foot down, Viserys. That's it. Come on now. You might be old and raggedy, but you can still put your foot down. And, Rhaenyra was like, thank you, Daddy. I'm looking at Alicent like, trifling heifer. You tried it. You tried it again. And then she was like, well, no, this is not good enough. Like, they just took, he took one of my son's eyes that can't grow back. Like, he can get over being called a bastard, but he can't grow an eye back, And he was like, look, your son called the prince, the heir to the throne, the future heir to the throne, after the first one, my daughter, a bastard. Like, that's already bad enough. Just call it even. She was like, no, like, she just would not let it go. She just would not settle. Like, this is a common theme with Alicent. She would not let it go. She would not bury the hatchet. She would not be the bigger woman. If she would have nursed that hatred in them in the first place, this probably would have never happened. But anyways, she gonna get mad and be like, no. Like, she really tried to go above the king and be like, you know what? I'll take matters into my own hands. And she gonna look at Sir Kristen Cole and be like, take his eye out, pick one and take an eye out. And then the kids were like, no. And then Rhaenyra was like, I wish you would. I wish you would. Like, I feel like Rhaenyra would have threw them hands for real. And not just Rhaenyra, but the fact that her throwing hands, but she would have been like, do remember that I still have tea on you. Alicent might not have told, but Rhaenyra still had that tea, so to speak. From the episode where they, banged each other. So it was in his best interest. He could be mad and do little petty things, but he better not cross a line. That's all I have to say, because she could sink all of that. Anyways, She was like, I wish you would. And the king was looking at her, Viserys was looking at her like, so you really gonna tell him to do that after I just said to let it go? And Sir Kristen Cole, he wasn't stupid. He wanted to keep his neck. He liked being able to breathe. So he was like, I'm not gonna do nothing. He just stood there and was like, she gonna say, well, he's loyal to me. And I was like, but did you forget that the king is above you? So they're all still subject to him. So even if he's like pledged allegiance to you, whatever the king wants, that's what the king gets. He was like, to protect you. Like he got out of that real smooth. He was like, I'm pledged allegiance to protect you, queen. Because he wanted to keep his head. He knew better. He knew who was really in charge. She was so mad. And he was like, I'm going to bed. So you can either let it go or you can let it go. And then as he turns to leave, she gonna take the dagger, the dagger that had the little writing on it, that you put it in the fire, and she gonna try to stab. Well, I guess she was trying to stab one of the boys, and the boys were screaming, which I don't blame them, because she looked, like I said, mighty crazy. That's like that scene, if you guys have seen, which I'm pretty sure you have, and spoiler warning if you haven't, the doggone movie with Wanda and the Multiverse of Madness, when she forced Chavez to take her to that one universe where her kids were still alive, and they saw her and they started screaming. That was hilarious to me, by the way. I said that in the video that I made about that. It was hilarious. It was hysterical. That reminded me of that scene. And she gonna stop. She gonna grab Allison, and like they like struggling, and she was like, what about duty and honor and rules and blah 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 this and blah 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 that? And I said this before. Who died and made Allison the almighty judge? Like, I get it. She was raised and taught to do duty, despite how painful it is, how miserable it is. She was taught to follow the rules, to be governed by what the law says all the time. No bending. Either you do it or you break. And she just couldn't handle the fact that Rhaenyra would not be held to that prison, basically. That she was a rebel. She was going to do what she wanted to do, whether people liked it or not. She just couldn't handle it. And she looked at her and she said, basically, like, I couldn't have exposed you better myself. Now they see you for what you really are. Like, your little facade is cracking. Your self-righteousness that you like to hide behind, it's cracking. And I was like, yeah, they do see her for what she really is. But, I just wish we had more of an audience, like all of the realm, so they could know how much of a crazy woman she was. And she just wouldn't let it go. She was like, look, just let it go. No, she couldn't do that. And I guess, I don't know if she still tried to stab her, because like I said, I was on the edge of my seat, like, and I guess I don't think she was still trying to stab her. I think just whenever, they disengaged, they, disconnected, she got cut. And I'm just like, well, I mean, technically that's treason right there. Why she still got her head? Like, that right there could have cost Allison her neck. But because Viserys is just, a nice guy, especially when it comes to his family. Like, I'm sorry, but that would have been my daughter that she did that to. I've been like, I gotta replace you. Like, you had a good run. You were sweet while it lasted. Like, I put up with a lot of your bull crap. You talked down to me, you talked over me, you walked over me, you disrespected me. I'm the one in charge. But then you stabbed my daughter? Oh, no. You cut my daughter up? No. You gotta go now. I gotta replace you with somebody. I don't know who. Maybe nobody at all, but you gotta go now. And so she was all right, but, she got cut pretty deep. And then, like I said, the Viserys was like, he basically was like, I'm sick of this. Like, we're gonna stop this. We're not gonna talk about this whole bastard thing. Like, we're going to, like, we're not gonna keep this going. Like, we supposed to be a family. We supposed to be in this together. Like, this stops today. And they were kind of like, all the greens. They were looking like, they were listening, but they were like, I feel like in their minds, they were like, that's a load of bull crap. Like, we ain't stopping nothing. Like, we got plans to do. We got plans to make. Things are set into motion. And then it was at that scene where everybody went to their, respective sides. And it was cool to see that. It was nice to see that Viserys was technically on the side of the blacks, if you want to be technical. But anyways, That's where the division was already there, but come to fruition, that's where the division started. Then she, and that's another thing, of course, Allison was like, where is their father? And, that was a completely different story altogether. Like I said, the man had trauma, but he still made some bad decisions. So finally he comes back to Rhaenyra, and he was like, listen, I made some bad mistakes. I wasn't always a good husband or father, but I want to fix that. And so at first, I guess she thought that he was going to, like, at that point, she had gotten to the point where she was like, he wants to go back to the Stepstones. He should go back to the Stepstones, because if he's at the Stepstones, then, like, I can fool around in the sheets with Daemon. But then he was like, oh, but I just want to be like a good father and a good husband and do what's right, like what I should have been doing all these 10 years. And she was looking, like, the look that she gave him, I was like, oh my God, like, she's looking like, so is she like mad because he's finally deciding to, do what he was supposed to? Or is she mad because she feels like he's going to be in the way now because Damien's back and he's available and he's going to be an obstacle to that relationship? And I was like, he might have just got himself killed by saying that. Just by saying that, I was really nervous because I had seen some foreshadowing and some other people were saying that, like, he was gonna possibly die or something like that. And I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. And then she went back to talk to Daemon, and she was like, I need you. Like, I need you. I can't fight them by myself, And I was like, oh my God, what are they gonna do? Like, you're still married. And he even brought that up. He was like, but you're still married. Like, because he even mentioned, like, with you as my husband, like, we can do some things. She was like, you weren't meant to sit at Pentos, the seaside. No, we were meant to burn together. Like, when she said that, I was like, it's kind of self-destructive to say, but I get the imagery. I get it. And he was like, well, we have one problem. You're still married to Later. And I was like, I hope that they're not going down the route that I think that they're going down. And then they, sure enough, confirmed it when he showed up in his Black Death outfit, like the one that he had before he murdered his wife, his first wife. And he went to, I forgot what the guy's name was, the guy that Sir Laner was messing with. And he was like getting all up in his face, and I'm like, bro, you better back up. He might have a dagger up in there that he might shank you with. Like, you better be careful. Like, listen, y'all only know, Daemon, the rogue prince as, that. Not Daemon, the rogue prince who smashed his niece, who killed his first wife, who then proceeded to get his other niece/cousin because he couldn't get his first niece. He ain't a safe dude. He's not all the way there, I feel like. Not necessarily like that he's like insane, but he's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, insane is like when you like you can't really do nothing, but crazy is like, you smart but you crazy, you know what I'm saying? Like, you do anything kind of crazy. He was talking about listen, there's a place where you can go where nobody cares about titles, but gold is everything. He was like, I just need you to have a little accident, right? And he gives him a sack of gold. And I'm like, bro, are you really going to kill Laner over some gold? You ain't no better than... Never mind, I was going to say something. I'm going to stop. Anyways. I was like, bro, you really going to do that? Like, over some gold? Like, come on, was his life that unworthy to you? And then he goes and he confronts Laner in the study, or it's not a study, it was like the wherever it was, a little room where they were talking, his parents were talking, and then Daemon was over here choking people out and snapping necks on the staircase, and then doggone it, they start fighting. He was like, talking about something, he gonna take out his sword and be like, he was like, oh, I see you've gotten beside yourself, and then they start fighting, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, that's right, Laner is a warrior, like, he fought at the Stepstones all those years ago with Daemon and his father and his uncle. He's going to win this fight, right? Then he started losing, got smacked in the face. I was like, this boy about to lose. He about to lose, and he about to lose his life. And then I was like, he about to die. Oh, my God. And then I started to get so grieved in my spirit because I was like, I can't believe Rhaenyra was stupid to this level. Like, I wasn't surprised. Like, I was mad, but I wasn't surprised with Daemon. But I was mad about her. I was like, how are you going to do this? I know he wasn't the best husband, but at least he didn't put you through absolute hell. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one thing to be married to somebody who you don't want to be married to, but at least, like, you know them, you're comfortable with them, you can confide in them when they're not, drinking themselves into a stupor to escape their own trauma. But they had a decent thing going, versus like you with somebody who abuses you all the time, who talks bad about you, who talks down to you, who's never there for you. He wasn't the best, but he was there. You know what I'm saying? When he was, and he showed your boys love. And I'm just like, he kept up the appearances. So I was like, I can't believe she would do this. And this is her cousin. And then to the slap in the face, like I said, there are rules to this. First of all, you gonna ask the husband, your ex-lover basically, of your dead cousin, your dead cousin's husband, widow now, did you love her? Then you're gonna go and marry the dude. Well, first she screwed him, then she got married to him. That's just completely out of order, and that just makes it that much worse. And then you killed her brother, your husband, your other cousin, because you wanted him to be to be the husband, basically. Like, and I get it, she couldn't do the whole polygamy thing because she was a woman. And at first, that's what I thought. I was like, well, what's she gonna do? Marry him too and have two husbands? She's gonna go all the way rebel and be like, since y'all out here having 2 and 3 wives, I'm about to have 2 husbands? I would have rather that than what she went with. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. This is some... I went back to I hate this show again. I was like, y'all make me sick, man. I hate this. Like, this is bad. How could she do this? Like, I was devastated. But then, and the way they did it, boy, I tell you, I was not ready for that trauma, okay? Had him halfway in the fire burned up. I mean, it was a smart idea to, like, burn a body, but whose body was that? Some innocent person who they killed. But they did that to keep him from being able to be identified. At first, I was looking like, that ain't Laner. That ain't Laner. Laner had a full head of locks, and I know that hair burns, but still, I was like, that ain't Laner. Can't fool me, that ain't Laner. And then you see the guy, I'm like, the traitor, getting on a boat with some mysterious figure, and then he takes off his hat, and it's Laner, who then shaved off his locks, and I'm like, how you gonna do that to the locks, man? You know how long it takes to grow locks? I don't know personally because I've never had locks before, but I know it took me a hot minute to grow this, okay? And it still be looking like who did it and why sometimes. But anyways, I was like, he's alive. But then again, I was shocked and I was happy, but I was like, but it makes sense though. And so I was trying to think to myself, okay, so there's one of two things that happen here. Either they're all in this together, as the old school High School Musical would say back in the day. They're all in this together, and he paid him to basically help Laner fake his death and get back to the Stepstones, which is what he really wanted to do, so that Rhaenyra could go ahead and marry Daemon because he was dead, and and whatnot. Or he actually did pay the guy to try and kill him, but he turned on Daemon and instead of killing him, helped him escape. Now, I don't know which, to be honest. I hope it's the one where they're all in it together. But it's giving me anxiety, which is why I don't want to think about it. So y'all can talk about it in the comments amongst yourselves. I was like, I just cannot believe this. And they actually went through with the wedding. I was like, wow, this is some mess for real. She was talking about some, together we can take them down and like, blah, 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 this, and I need you that. And I was just like, but, and then, like I said, if it was something that they were all in together, that makes me even more upset because his parents were devastated. Like, they had just buried Lena, who they knew was dead for real. And he gonna fake his death and then put them through more trauma and heartbreak. And of course, Corliss was like, how you let this happen? And then he went to like go comfort Rhaenys, and she was like, get away from me. And I was like, y'all, she literally said this. She told him, she was like, you're gonna get him killed. You're putting him in danger by doing this. Like, he was just so like bent on like, we want to leave our mark on history. Like, we're going to have a Valerian on the throne from this bloodline in some kind of way, even though it's not really blood. Because he was saying, nobody remembers blood. They remember names. So for all he was concerned, them strong boys was his grandkids, okay? He just wanted some Valerians on the throne, okay? And she was like, you going to get us killed or hurt. like trying to do this. Like, it doesn't matter. It's not worth the trouble and the trauma and the danger we're going through. Like, she did try to, I told y'all, mothers be knowing this stuff, most of them. And I was like, dang, she really did tell him, even though we know that he's not dead. I was like, dang, she really did try to warn him about this. And he just kept on going because he was just so intent to get him on the throne. And I was like, wow, this is really bad. So basically, it's like they lost like two children, like, you know, within a short time span. I was like, man, that sucks. And I could not imagine, you know. And then of course, like I said, they had already, you know, the Green, so to speak, had already left the castle, and doggone it, what's his name, Aemon on here on the dragon. I'm just like, I still don't appreciate that. I still don't. Like I said, that's just like I feel like the whole respect, you know, out of common courtesy and empathy was just thrown out the window. They had left, and doggone it, Otto was basically congratulating her. Like, basically that's what he was doing. Like, I haven't seen this side of you, daughter. And she was like, yeah, because it's ugly, and I messed up. Like, I let my facade break, and I showed a side of me that I should have never had. Like, I lost control. And he was like, but you did what was necessary, or you tried to. And we need to see more of that. And she was looking at him like, that was the moment that she should have walked away. Like, she didn't have to necessarily say anything, because this is still her father. She could have showed him all the honor and respect by just shutting up and looking at him like, and then walking away. Because he was basically, like I said, comforting her and congratulating her for being crazy like him. Like, the stuff that she did, he encouraged her to do. Like, she was a whole upset and whatnot, but what she became was because of him, when you really think about it. And then he gonna say, listen, I know you're upset. Well, he didn't even say that much. He was just like, look, we have the biggest dragon, which is true. I keep getting the name confused. I think it's Vagar. I'll have it correct in the video. But basically, he gonna say, yeah, we have the biggest dragon, because Vagar was the second to largest dragon right after Balerion the Black Dread. But Balerion the Black Dread died, like, you know, some decades before this series took place. So the largest dragon that was living presently was Vagar. And I was like, really? He gonna say, we have the largest dragon. Like, we needed that dragon for real. And he was like, listen, your son, what he lost was worthy in comparison of what he gained. He was like, other men, you know, he could, and compared to what he could have lost. And I'm just like, again, that would have been the point where you would have been like, how dare you? And then walked away. Because this is your son, he can't grow his eye back, because he wanted to act a stupid fool, because that's how he see you acting in private, you know, concerning them kids and Rhaenyra. And she kind of looked at him at first like, you know, are you sure this is your grandson you're talking about? Like, he can't see in an eye for the rest of his life now. But then she kind of like, it's like she resolved immediately, like, to, you're right, we have the largest dragon. We're gonna need that dragon for when we fight them. And yeah, he lost an eye, but he got a dragon, and the largest dragon. It was almost like the gears were turning, the dots were connecting for her, but in the worst way possible. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man. I was like, man. Anyway, so they went back home, and she went ahead, and Rhaenyra went ahead and got that marriage done. And I was like, you really gonna marry your uncle? You really gonna tell him that you wanted him, that you've always wanted him, that you're not a child no more, so that y'all be together? You fake off your cousin husband so that you can be with him, and y'all got married. Imagine what Lena's daughters were thinking. Dad just buried mom, and he's already getting married. Uncle just died, and she's already marrying him. You know, like. Now, it's my understanding that it's supposed to be another time jump, either in the next episode or very soon to come, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I think people were saying that Daemon and Rhaenyra are supposed to have a child together. I don't think that's necessarily a spoiler, considering how much she apparently likes him and has the hots for him. They're gonna be doing it a lot, I'm assuming. So I'm pretty sure she'll get pregnant with her fourth child. So by him this time. I'm just like, y'all make me sick. Anyways, there's a lot to be pondered in this episode. That, like I said, that fighting scene between the kids, like, I don't like watching kids beat each other up and kids bullying other kids because their parents are bullies. And the things he said, those were some hurtful things, especially, like I said, the whole, like, talking about some y'all are bastards and hard and strong, he ain't here to protect y'all, stuff like that. And I'm just like, how can you be so cruel? Like, But anyways, raised by a cruel woman. That's how. But anyways, yeah, this, like I said, this episode was buck wild, and I kind of expected it to be, because all in the promos, like, they showed Allison trying to stab Rhaenyra, so I knew it's gonna be buck wild to an extent, but I just didn't know it was gonna be, like I said, off your cousin husband to be with your uncle who you had the hots for all these years after he just buried his wife, your also cousin and brother to your husband. I mean, a sister to your husband. Like I said, this family is a hot mess, y'all. Anyways, like I said, I was on the edge of my seat for most of this. I was just like, But anyways, think about what I said earlier about, like, whether it was them all being in it together or, like, he actually tried to have Lena killed. Like I said, I wouldn't put anything past Damon after what he did to his first wife. Yeah, I wouldn't put anything past it. It's just sad that they fought together. Like, I would think that he would have some kind of, like, care for him, but perhaps I was wrong. So y'all think about that, whether it was they were all in it together or he did try to actually kill him. Y'all discuss that in the bottom. I want to hear what y'all have to say, and yeah, y'all tell me what y'all thought about the episode in the comments down below.